Time to wake up. It's Saturday morning. Find some milk and cereal. Grab a bowl and spoon. No, a bigger spoon. Head to the living room and take a seat on the floor while Joseph and Chris present to you Saturday Morning Cartoon!
Hello everybody, welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoon Boom! This is a show where we wake up with the Saturday morning sun popped on the floor with a big bowl of sugary cereal and we'll check your favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
And this morning we watched Ducktales 2017. Woo! Oh god.
That's my duck noise.
That scared me. It sounded like Boss Nass from Star Wars.
If he were doing a Donald Duck impression?
Kind of, yeah. Except it's like when he shakes his jaws around. Yeah. Boss Nass. Yeah.
I can't talk like Donald. All I can do is that Boss Nass doing a Donald impression.
Man, nobody can talk like Donald that well except for the guy who played him in the original DuckTales, which is, I think, the same guy who played him in this one.
It is the same guy. Yes. That is a guy whose name I will talk about later. Yeah. But, like, I'm proud of my impression because I feel like it's pretty meta.
I think it was pretty good. It just caught me off guard, so it scared me before I was able to process it.
I'm doing a character that does another character, and I feel like that's talent right there. So, that's go ahead and book me. Go ahead and book me for all your voice acting gigs, all your parties. I mean, I can only do that one thing, but yeah.
Waspinator, Boss Nass impersonating Donald Duck, such a wide range.
Yeah, I mean, those are the two big extremes of voice acting right there. I did do a webinar thing with Steve Bloom, who people know as Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop. He's been doing Wolverine for several years now.
Oh, on Wolverine and X-Men, yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe I should record that and send it to him for a critique.
Yeah, see what he says.
Yeah, I'm interested to know what he thinks of it, what I can do with this. So how far can I take it, Steve? Help me out.
So who suggested this to us?
This was suggested by two of our listeners, Mike Root via YouTube and then Lexa.here via Instagram. So thank you, Mike and Lexa.
Thanks, Mike and Lexa.
On a serious note, real quick, I do have a confession to make. And I hope you don't think less of me.
I already do. Go ahead.
I've never seen the original DuckTales.
Like none of it?
I've never watched it. No.
Oh, there are some comparisons I'm going to make, and there were some moments I was going to be like, Chris, remember when this and this, and I was hoping you'd be able to contribute, but now I'm very disappointed to know that I'm going to be solo on this.
I'm sorry to let you down. I'm glad I got it off my chest because it was the weight of a literal duck sitting on my chest, and I got it off now.
Ducks aren't that heavy. It wasn't that bad.
I know that might change our dynamic a little going forward into the future, but I'm hoping this is something we'll grow to overcome.
I think it would have been even funnier if you had told me at the end of the episode and you're just kind of agreeing with everything I was saying up until then.
Dude, I remember those parts that you referenced from the other
ducks.
Show.
Yeah,
I know.
Okay, well, you know what? That's fine because this is like DuckTales 2017 is like the multiverse of all the Disney afternoon cartoons rolled into one.
I picked up on that a little bit, yeah.
And we'll, again, get more into that as we talk about the show, which was, as I said, DuckTales, which started in 2017 and is still going.
Woo!
You can't say DuckTales, woo, without doing that. Based on Uncle Scrooge by Carl Barks and DuckTales by Jim Magan. Developed by Matt Youngberg and Francisco Angones. Produced by Disney Television Animation, ran for 2 seasons, 47 episodes so far on Disney XD in 2017 and 2019 to present, and on the Disney Channel from 2018 to present.
What does the XD stand for? Is it doing the emoji of a really excited smiling face?
That's the only way I can see it.
Yeah, I mean, that was my first thought, but then I'm like, does it mean like extreme Disney?
Extreme Disney. That's kind of redundant. I don't know.
Yeah, which is my favorite. Is if it's it's literally supposed to be Disney Extreme Disney.
I don't know exactly what they show on. I don't know exactly what they show on Disney XD, but Well, if they are showing DuckTales, I'm assuming they're showing other duck shows. So maybe it's Disney Extra Ducks.
Extra ducks. Oh, man. Disney does love duck stuff. Disney has the most duck-related content per capita.
For a company that started with a rabbit and then a mouse, they sure do have a lot of ducks.
They have so many ducks. It's ridiculous.
For a short synopsis, the comedy adventure series chronicles the high-flying adventures of trillionaire Scrooge McDuck, his grandnephews Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and temperamental nephew Donald Duck, Launchpad McQuack, Mrs. Beakley, and her granddaughter Webby.
Yes, it does.
Adventures of all those. So it is a lot like the original, except more Donald. Because in the original, Donald just like came to Uncle Scrooge, gave him the nephews, and was like, hey, can you watch them? Because I'm going to join the Navy. And he did. And then he was never seen again.
So it's like, is saying, hey, can you watch them? Because I'm going to join the Navy and never return. Can you still refer to that as watching them? Or is it like, hey, can you be their sole guardian forever now? Because I'm going to peace out and join the Navy.
That was kind of how I got my first dog.
Wait, because somebody joined the Navy?
My mom was like, hey, can you babysit my dog or one of my dogs for the weekend? Because he's not getting along with one of my other dogs. And then that weekend turned into 10 years.
That's the longest weekend of your life.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, man, I wish all weekends lasted 10 years long.
Oh, my gosh.
Oof.
Yeah, so I can relate to Uncle Scrooge. I know what he went through.
Yeah.
So who were some of the actors who played in this show?
So Scrooge McDuck was voiced by David Tennant, who is amazingly talented. I love this guy. He's best known for his appearances as Doctor Who. Probably the most, aside from one or two of the originals, probably the most popular Doctor of all time. You can fight me on that, which is fine because I really don't care. I just know that whenever somebody talks about Doctor Who, they usually start talking about how much they loved David Tennant's character. So there's that. He's also in Grace Point, which was also basically Broadchurch when they did the American version. He was in Jessica Jones, Good Omens, lots of big roles for him, and I don't see that stopping anytime soon. The voice of Huey was provided by Danny Pudi, best known for his role in Community. And he's also on this new show, I think it's produced by Apple TV, which is really weird, but called Mythic Quest. And I don't know about you, but like I've seen some commercials. I've seen some commercials. I can't English, Joseph. For a bunch of shows on Apple TV that I feel like this came out of nowhere, and now all of them I'm like, wow, I want to watch all of these. But anyway, that's one of them. So there you go. Check that out. The voice of Dewey, provided by Ben Schwartz, another guy I absolutely love. He was Jean-Ralphio in Parks and Recreation. He's been in House of Lies, Randy Cunningham, Ninth Grade Ninja. He is Leonardo in Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Did I say Turtles? Joseph, am I having a stroke right now?
What is wrong with you
What is
today?
happening to me? I'm falling apart at the mouth.
Somebody needed to watch more DuckTales when they were growing up.
Oh, God. Yeah, I know. He is the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog in the new movie, which you just saw.
Oh, and I loved, yes.
That. Yeah, I love Ben Schwartz. He's so much fun. He's also going to be in a show that I'm excited for, where he will be joining Steve Carell, a show called Space Force that I'm very much looking forward to because I know how stupid it's going to be, and I'm ready for it. The voice of Louie, provided by Bobby Moynihan, who's been in The Awesomes. He was Panda from We Bare Bears, which was a show that we absolutely loved when we were able to review that. Known a lot for his appearances on Saturday Night Live for several years. And he also voices the character of Orca in Star Wars Resistance. The character of Donald Duck, voiced by Tony Anselmo, who has exclusively been Donald Duck since 1986. He has hardly had any appearances as anything else since that point. It's almost been nothing but Donald Duck. He's the only person that's been voicing Donald Duck for that period of time. I mean, any video game, any series, any movie, including things like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Donald Duck has that brief appearance.
Oh, yeah.
It's all been him.
Okay.
This whole time.
Okay, so that impersonation you did earlier, How did
Yes.
that make your throat feel? Because I imagine it hurts.
It honestly, I don't use my throat at all. It's all in the cheeks.
Ah,
It's
okay.
all in the cheeks.
Okay, so it's a cheek
Yep.
thing.
It's
Man,
a cheek thing.
okay, because I was like, man, he has to have like ruptured his vocal cords hard, but if it's just a cheek thing, then it's fine. He's probably okay.
Yeah, I think he's probably using his cheeks. I'm sure there's some throat action involved there, which this is getting dirtier and dirtier as I say it. But like I think it's probably a lot with the air pockets just stuck in his cheeks as he's enunciating, and I can't pull that off. I would love to be able to, but I can't do it.
Because I was listening to Donald talk in the first episode, and that is the most Donald that Donald gets in that. He was like doing it hardcore. So
Yeah,
a lot of cheek action going on.
Ms. Beakley was voiced by Toks Olagundoye, who is known for appearing in mostly live television. She was on The Neighbors as Jackie Joyner Kersey. She was the character of Haley Shipton in Castle, but she has done some voiceover work like Countess Cleo in Carmen Sandiego, the newer one from Netflix. And maybe you can correct me on this pronunciation. I'm not sure what this is. Nanefua from Steven Universe. Is that a character you recognize?
Yeah. Nana Fua. Yeah, you said it pretty much right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I'm awesome at pronouncing everything now. Webigail Vanderquack, voiced by Kate McCucci, another person that I absolutely love in the acting biz. She is known for her band and the accompanying television show Garfunkel and Oates. She was on Raising Hope as Shelley, which is the first time that I ran into her, which was a lot of fun. She was definitely a standout character. And she's been voicing Velma Dinkley in anything Scooby-Doo related since 2015. So any of the movies, the series, video games, all of that since 2015, that has always been Kate McCucci. And she's also the voice of Sadie Miller in Steven Universe. So a couple of Steven Universe alums here. And then finally, last character I'm going to talk about here is Launchpad McQuack, voiced by Beck Bennett, mostly known for several years on Saturday Night Live, but also is going to be in the upcoming movie to complete a trilogy that I didn't know we needed. Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Oh, yeah.
Be there. So much love for that. That's going to be I feel like most of the time I'm like, why are you going to make a sequel to a movie that was done like 20 years ago? But this is just going to be fun. So I'm excited.
Yeah, really, at this point, anything Keanu touches turns to gold.
Yeah. And I wish he would touch me, so I could be gold.
So for a few tasty marshmallows out of our big bowl of Ducktales cereal, the producers cite that the Indiana Jones films and the family comedy Arrested Development as an influence on the show, which I could see.
I can definitely see it. It is Indiana Jones for sure. It is very strong Indiana Jones overtones. Arrested Development, I wouldn't have said, but now I can see it thinking about it after having watched those episodes. Like, there's definitely somewhat of that family dynamic and that type of humor, though a bit more subtle than Arrested Development. But yeah.
And according to Matt Youngberg, Huey, Dewey, and Louie have more developed characteristics in the show, whereas in previous shows, they were indistinguishable from each other, aside from their different colored hats. Everyone always says Huey, Dewey, and Louie in that exact order, so we decided to make that the birth order, and by defining that, we were able to assign traits that fit. Huey's the oldest, a little more responsible, a little bit brainy. Dewey wants to stand out and wants to break out of being labeled as just one of the set of three. And Louie is happy being the youngest child. He can slip under the radar. And Huey has Scrooge's brain, Dewey has Scrooge's guts, and Louie has Scrooge's love of treasure. So they are, I mean, again, you've never seen the original, but in that one, they're pretty much all the same. And they all have the same voices. So it's really hard to tell them apart.
I was wondering about that because I feel like their personalities were pretty strong in this, which surprised me because even though I didn't watch the original DuckTales, I had seen those three in like other, like pop up in other things, like in little shorts. And I'm sure I've seen clips of DuckTales without having sat down and watched an episode. And yeah, like I would not have been able to distinguish between those three back then. But they're very, very developed in this one. So that was something I wasn't expecting to get here.
Yeah, but it was a welcome addition for sure.
Yes.
In the first episode, places like St. Canard and Cape Suzette are mentioned. St. Canard is the home of Drake Mallard, aka Darkwing Duck. Cape Suzette is the city in which the show Tailspin takes place. It was confirmed at Comic-Con 2019 that aside from Darkwing Duck, whose first major role in the series was The Duck Knight Returns, which we're going to talk about later, and minor appearances prior to that, several other characters from both shows will be appearing in Season 3, namely Gosselin Mallard and Taurus Bulba from Darkwing Duck, and the adult version of Kit Cloudkicker and Molly Cunningham from Tailspin. So again,
Nice.
like I was mentioning earlier, this is kind of an all-encompassing mixed universe. It's cool trying to make those like multiverse things, but it doesn't always work. However, in the case of DuckTales, I think it definitely could.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mrs. Beakley and Launchpad in this series take over the butler chauffeur duties from Duckworth, McDuck's butler in DuckTales 1987. However, Duckworth himself would later be reintroduced as a ghost and become a recurring character later in the show. And I don't know if you noticed that in the episode where, like, I think it's the second episode we watched where they're all kind of walking out on Scrooge. Mrs. Beakley says, like, I'm going to take my vacation days. As she's walking out, you see that ghost walk behind her.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
That was Duckworth, who was the original butler in the 1987 series. So that was a cool little nod. Yeah.
That is cool.
So you don't have any memories of this since you didn't watch it, but I am very fond of this show. I loved it as a kid. It fit in with that block of Disney things I used to watch, Tailspin and Gummy Bears and obviously DuckTales. And then any other shows in that little block, I was a huge fan of. So it's cool seeing them all tied together here. And I was going to ask you, do you know what Scrooge McDuck used to sound like what his voice was?
I know I've heard the voice before, but if you're gonna put me on the spot, I don't know.
I mean, I'm not saying like imitated. I'm just saying like, do you remember what it sounded like? Because what I was gonna ask you was how you felt about the change with David Tennant taking over from Alan Young, who was the original voice actor, since he had passed away.
Well, can you describe what it was like? Was it like older? Did it still have a Scottish accent?
It definitely still had a Scottish accent because he was a Scottish voice actor too. Is David Tennant Scottish?
Yes.
Okay. So they still have the Scottish thing going on, but his was a little bit, I guess, deeper and like gruffer.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
You'd have to hear it, but it didn't bother me hearing it differently. It was just an adjustment I had to make. Just like with Launchpad, I had to make a slight adjustment for that. Otherwise, like I was totally fine with all the voices and still am.
I loved David Tennant's voice in this because like I felt like it brought a he has such a energetic and youthful voice when he uses it that way, and I feel like that honestly carries really well into this character that's old and curmudgeonly but used to be very adventurous, and like I can feel that in the voice when he talks. So when he's like kind of down about something, it works. David Tennant can do that kind of thing, but when he gets excited about an idea, like you hear it in the voice even more than you see it in the animation, which I think is fantastic. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, it does sound good and it does really work for what his character is. So the first episode we watched for today's show was Season 1, Episode 1. Actually, it's funny because on Disney Plus, they have this as Episode 4, but it's clearly
they're all backwards.
Yeah, but it's clearly the first episode because it's the intro episode. Yes. That's when all the characters like meet each other. And the one they have as Episode 1 on there is some kind of like adventure where they're all already together. So it just didn't make any sense why those two were just swapped like that.
Yeah, Disney Plus screwed up the order of a lot of cartoons. Like this isn't the only one. I know like X-Men the animated series is goofed up. For whatever reason, they just put them totally out of order.
Weird.
And it makes no sense. So like, yeah, I was really confused at first when you told me which episode we were doing. I was like, wait, that's not the what? And then you were like, well, I'm on IMDb. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, yeah, Disney strikes again.
So in this one, after losing their boathouse in an accident, Donald Duck reluctantly agrees to take his nephews to visit their grand uncle Scrooge McDuck. Enthralled by the wonders of the McDuck Manor, the triplets investigate family secrets.
Question.
Yep.
So I knew the DuckTales theme song. And like the one for this one's kind of just an updated version of the old one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is, but every time I hear the song Footloose on the radio or in the car, because Rochelle likes that song, I always think of DuckTales. There's got to be some sort of common melody in there because whenever they say Footloose in my head, I'm like Ducktales. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird. I mean,
There-
it's not super similar, but I guess it's similar enough.
There are some common beats in there, and I could see where you're going with that for sure.
Yeah, it drives me nuts. But anyway, I always think of DuckTales when I hear that song. So there you go. There's my memories of DuckTales.
It's always when you hear those two beats, just a bump, bump, and then it's like, oh, it's going to be DuckTales.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. That's got to be it. That's what sends me down this path, this spiral out of control.
Yeah. It's going to be like that for the rest of our lives.
It will be until we're dead.
And we'll be on our deathbeds. We'll hear that beat and we'll just be like, DuckTales.
DuckTales.
Whoa.
I don't know how similar this first episode is to the original, but some things that I liked, and you've filled in a few of those things already, but I'm going to have some questions for you about this.
Yeah.
So, okay, so Donald drops off the 3 because he's like, peace, I have a job interview that's going to last a long time. Drops them off. But like, so Scrooge McDuck has this huge reputation of basically an Indiana Jones type reputation, along with being like the richest person alive, which is what gets Huey, Dewey, and Louie are just super excited for that. So like, what was Scrooge like in the original versus this? Like, what are the differences?
Yeah, it was very similar in that aspect. It's like, when we saw the Scooby-Doo updated show, like, what I mean is like in that one where they have those, where they're visiting, I think it was Velma and her parents are there at their museum or something. They're tourist trap and you see all those old monsters. Yeah, it's kind of like that. Where it's like you're seeing all these things that Scrooge has done in the past. And even though they're like his past, it's basically like the way DuckTales was, in that I think some of those were actual missions or whatever, actual adventures that they went on in the original series. So it's kind of a nod to that. But in this one, he is, I don't remember in the original if he was kind of retired from that. I don't think that was even talked about. I think it's just like, hey, let's go on adventures. It's mainly in pursuit of treasure more than it was adventure, I think, in that one. But I don't recall exactly.
Okay, got it. And then I'm guessing that these are new characters, but Miss Beakley and then Webigail or Webby, as she's called, are they brand new characters?
No, they were from the original series too, except
they
Webigail.
Were? Okay.
Webigail was a lot more like a bratty younger sister type than she was like a super like smart, like curious type.
Interesting. Okay, so I had never heard of those characters before. So I didn't know if they were main characters, if they were brand new, if they were like real secondary characters that were just made main characters for this one.
No, they were original characters, but they got good updates to them because Mrs. Beakley was just kind of the I think she was just a maid in the original, and in this one she was like a Secret Service agent, I think, or something to that effect. Yeah, she's more like his bodyguard in a way.
Yeah, Scrooge would every once in a while refer to her as Agent 22 instead of Miss Beakley. So that was interesting. I liked that because I'm like, okay, cool. So there is some cool backstory to this character that you wouldn't guess about her, you know, just looking at the character design. And I like that. That was cool. And it makes that character so much more interesting.
Yeah, where she had a much more like grandma-like feel in the original, she has much more of a British secret agent feel in this one, which really ties into that backstory they're trying to set forward.
And I like that. I like that there's this, they did a really good job of setting up this air of, I don't know, like a retired adventurer crew, with dropping those hints about her, with like all the artifacts that Scrooge has and the kind of like reputation that he's got to like these kids and stuff. I really enjoyed that part of it. And some of that might just be not being familiar with the original, because I had no idea that they went on like these adventures and stuff. I just always assume it was just like the kids getting into trouble, and you know, he is this millionaire with tons of money and is having to deal with the consequences of it or something like that. So I didn't know what the real dynamic was, and this made me very interested really quickly as we got to meet each of these characters. Especially when like Webigail or Webby, I'm going to say, gets involved. And she's kind of fangirling about the whole idea of this family and their legacy. And she's really trying to solidify herself as much as she can into this family. Like she's trying to kind of insert herself and not in a like selfish or malice kind of way. It's just she's so excited about the idea of this family, and she's meeting 3 kids her age that are part of this family, and she wants to be a part of this. And I like that a lot. Everything, I liked every single aspect of this episode. So this episode really goes the way of, introducing us to all of who are going to be the main characters. The boys, Donald, Scrooge, Webby, Miss Beakley, Launchpad, who is hilarious because he's just so dim-witted.
Yeah, that definitely carries over from the original one.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know. I had an idea of what his character was, but I thought his character would be a little bit more on the like cocky macho kind of side, but he's just a big dumb idiot, and I love it.
He's a big dumb teddy bear. Like he's that in the original, and he's still that in this, and he is terrible at driving / piloting. Basically, his landings are just always wrecks of some sort.
I like that. I like that a lot. So the rest of this episode, aside from setting up each character, setting up kind of the dynamics to expect between all of these characters, it's about the kids finding, well, it was actually just the garage, but I thought it was like a little mini museum full of all these artifacts that I think it was Dewey thought originally that they were fake because he overheard Scrooge saying something about family, about how they're just trouble. And he got a little upset about it and just assumed that, Scrooge must be a fraud. He's not what I thought he was. But it turns out all these artifacts are real. There is like a lot of magic to them. It causes some trouble where they accidentally release some spirits and all kinds of stuff. And it causes tons of havoc and everything like that. So that's kind of the way the rest of the episode goes. And this one culminates with Scrooge. You think he's going to be angry because of all of the wreckage that happened in his mansion and to his hoard of gold and all kinds of stuff, but he got a kick out of it. And he's just like, man, you guys are trouble. And I have not had trouble for the longest time, and I'm going to teach you how to really cause trouble. And they talk about going to find the lost city of Atlantis. And then as it's closing, we see that Donald, the job that he had been interviewing for was by what I'm assuming is like a rival kind of millionaire also, like, but maybe he's part of some bigger group or organization who is also going to be trying to find Atlantis. And that's when like they give Donald that old sailor cap that he used to have back in the day. And he hasn't been drawn with that for a very long time. But that one with the ribbon hanging down that you just think of when you think of old school Donald Duck. So I liked that quite a bit.
Like that wasn't even the job he was applying for, but he ended up just getting that one instead so that he could pilot an expedition or, sail an expedition to Atlantis. And the person you were talking about is Glomgold, and that was Scrooge's rival in the original one, and that's still carrying over in this one. And Glomgold is over, like, he's the head of, like, the Beagle Boys, who are the common recurring enemies in the original DuckTales, and I know they come into play in this one, even though we didn't see them in the episodes we watched. But yeah, those are characters you would have seen a lot more of in the original.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and something we didn't really mention is, so Scrooge is kind of, he misses that adventure. You said that in when you were talking about after they had finished it, but throughout the episode, you had been going back to him and he would just say how, like, basically, like, he still got it or whatever. Like, he's not a has-been in his mind. And even at one point, I think he's trying on, like, one of his old, like, scuba suits to see if he can still fit it.
Yeah, the top was too heavy and he kept falling over. That was great.
So this is his, essentially the revival of his love of adventure and the perfect opportunity to do it and take advantage of that.
Yeah, and bringing along family for the ride and his, chauffeur and stuff. Launchpad McQuack, one of the best characters of this show, and also my favorite Sex Bomb song from Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Oh, nice.
The name of the very first one they play, I think, I think that was the first one they played.
I just finished listening to that soundtrack on Spotify.
It's the best soundtrack ever made, man.
It's so good. It's so good. So the second episode we watched for today's show was The Last Crash of the Sunchaser, season 1, episode 23, which is one of the highest rated. Stuck on a precarious peak, the kids secretly search the plane for a final clue about Della's mysterious disappearance. And Della is their mother. And this is something they definitely didn't explore at all in the original one. So, and it's an interesting through story to this adventure that they're going on, where they're trying to piece together this picture of their mother and kind of the mystery around her disappearance. And a lot of the episode, I would say 75% of it is just devoted to them trying to get this last piece of this picture. It keeps getting blown around because Launchpad had done something, or he was showing someone around the ship, I think Mrs. Beakley, and Scrooge accidentally crashed the ship onto the top of a mountain peak.
It was this really tall rock formation jutting out, and while Launchpad was showing her around the plane, like you said, it got the bottom of this formation embedded into the or the top of the formation embedded into the bottom of the plane. So it's just kind of almost like on a it's just barely balancing on this top of this peak. And the one of the big troubles is they have to balance out the weight, distribute the weight within the plane, or it's going to tip to one side and then they're going to fall and crash.
Right.
But while that's going on, like you said, that piece of that photo that they need, this piece, they had gotten it in a previous episode, and they knew that once they got this picture together, they would know who knows the most about their mother Della's disappearance, and they're assembling it. And this one piece gets blown away inside the plane. And even though they're trying to distribute this weight and not move around, they are adamant to get that. Mainly Dewey, who I think, honestly, I like Dewey the most. I feel like he, out of the three brothers, and at least the episodes we've seen, I think he gets the most screen time, but he's got, I don't know, he's the more dynamic of those three brothers to me as far as personality and stuff, because he shows, fun, he shows attitude, and he shows some very grim determination, especially when it comes to this. He puts himself in complete danger to get this piece because he is so I don't care what's going on. No one's going to get in my way. I'm going to find out what happened to my mom. And this episode got very, in that way, it got very serious.
Yeah. In
a way I did not expect whatsoever. And it I don't think I've ever been more surprised by the direction a cartoon goes than this episode right here.
With how goofy a lot of the setup of it was and just how many hijinks were happening, the fact that it culminated into something that was very serious in such a natural way that it didn't feel forced was really impressive.
This also answered some questions for me, because I was wondering in the very first episode, I'm like, okay, so Donald is their uncle, Scrooge is their grand uncle. Who are their parents? And I was thinking about that. And then this episode, and I'm sure she is discussed at another time before this, but it's okay, so they have a mom. Her name is Della, and she's missing, and they don't know why. Okay, that filled in some gaps for me right there. So I like that.
One of the funniest parts of this episode, and I don't know if you will agree, but to me, the thing that made me laugh out loud was when the Darkwing Duck ending theme song was on replay on the television and on the plane. It got caught in a loop where it just kept playing the saxophone ending of Darkwing Duck. And it became maddening to the kids, and to the point where they started to mock it. And that made me laugh so hard when they were
where they sing
it.
the part out loud. Yeah. So this is something I thought was really interesting, and I really loved about this show, is that in this universe, Darkwing Duck was a serialized television show for them.
Yeah.
He wasn't a superhero out in the real world. He was a show. And I thought that was a really cool way to do it. And it leads so much into the next episode we're going to talk about. And I didn't expect them to go that route with it, but I loved when they did that, and I thought it was going to be a throwaway reference at first when Launchpad's like, hey, we have some entertainment, and they're playing Darkwing on TV. But then that joke kept coming back, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be a bigger deal, this whole Darkwing thing. And I like how they molded that into this new universe that is DuckTales.
I like that approach because in a weird way where all these fantastical things are happening, it kind of grounds it a little bit more where it's like, okay, so there's not like a Batman hero character in this universe. It's just, it's the normal DuckTales universe just with these extra things added to it. And Darkwing is almost too fantastical for that, at least in the interpretation that the cartoon gave of him originally. So like you, I really enjoyed that part. So to kind of wrap to what the pursuit of the picture led to. So at a certain point, like it's blowing around the ship and the ship is teeter-tottering because it is bouncing on that peak. At a certain point, it flies out the window accidentally. And Dewey, like you said, is the risk taker. He's the one who is willing to go the furthest to make sure he gets what he wants. He actually goes out of the window. And this is where it starts to get serious. In pursuit of that piece of that picture that's gotten caught on one of the propellers, he is going out there and is able to finally grab it. And Scrooge is coming after him and telling him, like, not to risk it and to come back to the plane. And he gets it and sees what it is. And I think that ends up being a picture of Scrooge himself.
When he was younger, yeah.
When he was younger, yeah. Because it was the Flight of the Spear of Selene, which was this rocket ship that his mom took to and then flew into this cosmic storm, which is where she ended up disappearing. But it was a surprise from Scrooge that he was going to give to her. But then she, being, the risk taker, the one who wanted to be a part of it immediately, ended up kind of hijacking it and taking off before they were ready. So that was the whole thing that led to her disappearance in this cosmic storm. And the kids knowing this now, and, Scrooge comes clean to them as long as they to get Dewey to come back to the plane. He comes clean and tells them this whole story about how, he did what he could. And they're all blaming him in different ways, like that he should have called her back, like he shouldn't have built in the first place. Like, why would he do that and let her fly out there? So they're completely just blaming all this on him, assuming he did nothing to try to help. And like the moment his bank account took a hit, like he pulled back and stopped searching for her. And he does, he's trying to say differently, but it's gotten to the point where he gets kind of argumentative because Scrooge does have a pretty short temper. And it kind of, in that way, pushes his family and his friends away from him.
Yeah.
He's not liking how they're being so accusational when they don't know the whole story. And they're not really giving him a chance to tell the whole story. And emotions are high. And it's just like, none of them are in a spot where they can really discuss this right now. So everyone ends up leaving Scrooge behind on his own. And, he's saying like he's happy about that. Fine. So he goes and kind of dusts off, like, I guess his old like room of solitude or something, like dust off his chair. And as he's sitting there, that's where he gets like to a point where it's like, oh man, that's a very like emotional part to it where it's showing everything.
The flashback.
The flashback showing everything that he did to try to find her and how many people he sent up there to search for her, how much of his money he ended up spending. His accountants had to pull him away from the project because he was spending so much and almost bankrupted himself. It was showing that he did do so much to try and find her, but it was unsuccessful. So understandably, he was upset when they accused him of doing nothing. And then he just kind of sits in his chair and kind of just submits to the fact that he's alone now.
Yeah, I think it, like, to be honest, they do a good job of showing that event of Della disappearing really traumatized him.
And also fractured his relationship with Donald, too.
Oh, yeah, because he said that after that happened, him and Donald never spoke again until the day that Donald brought them to his doorstep. And I was just like, wow, I didn't expect that. I expected at the first episode when you could see that Donald plainly doesn't like Scrooge. I expected it to be a more funny reason of like Scrooge has a reputation and Donald's like, no funny business kind of thing, no lying or whatever. And I thought it was just a tongue in cheek, like, I know what you're about kind of thing. But no, it was a very like raw, heartfelt, emotional reason, like a very kind of dark reason. And This threw me totally off guard because I did not expect anything like this to show up in this show. I didn't see it coming at all. And it felt like a bit of a gut punch. And it was weird for me, especially not being familiar with these characters. But the storytelling here was so excellent that I felt for the boys and I felt for Scrooge here big time. And some of the other characters too, because when they had that argument on the plane, as everything was everyone was sort of unloading on each other. And, Scrooge, you could tell he felt like he was being backed into a corner. And like you said, he's got a short temper. He starts lashing out, but he crossed a line with some of them. It just reminded me of being in a room and seeing actual arguments and conversations kind of go that route, where it's just I can't believe it's going this far. And it, makes you feel a little sick to your stomach and just oh God, can we even come back from this kind of thing?
Right.
I've been in those situations where I've seen those conversations and they executed it flawlessly to feel that way here. And then, Scrooge goes and isolates himself and pushes everyone away because that's something that a lot of people with trauma do. It's something I've got experience with. So that made me really connect with this character a lot. Even when he was being a jerk about stuff, I'm like, oh man, I get that not wanting to feel the feelings, So I was just like, oh man, DuckTales, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing, DuckTales? You're supposed to be happy.
Anybody who's listened to any episodes of this show knows the impact that emotional aspects of cartoons have on us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a strong one. So while it didn't draw me to tears yet, I feel like at the rate it's going,
I was getting there.
It easily could. Yeah, I almost did when it showed that flashback.
Yeah.
So the last episode of today's show was The Duck Knight Returns, season 2, episode 16. And this was my pick because I knew I had heard that Darkwing Duck was in this show to some capacity, and I found that it was this episode, so we had to watch this one. Launchpad McQuack and Dewey Duck meet Darkwing Duck's original actor, Jim Starling. When they discover that Scrooge intends to produce a gritty movie about Darkwing Duck with a new actor, both Launchpad and Jim are against it.
Okay, so I need to ask a question. Was Jim Starling a name from the original Darkwing Duck at all?
I'm going to look that up real quick.
I was looking that up too, and I confused it while we were watching this. I confused Jim Starling for what's the name? Drake Mallard?
Yeah.
So I was confusing it for that, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is Darkwing Duck, but instead of it being his alter ego, it's literally Jim Starling was an actor and Darkwing Duck was the character that he played. But it wasn't Drake Mallard. This was Jim Starling. And it wasn't until later in the episode that I was like, wait. He wasn't Jim Starling in the original. What? Who was Drake Mallard?
Yeah.
So I was very confused for a while.
Yeah, I don't know what the name, if the name Jim Starling has any kind of relevance to Darkwing as a whole. I was waiting so long for them to just say Drake Mallard, and I knew they were going to. I knew when they wouldn't tell you the name of that actor, I knew that's who it was going to be. So I was just like, oh, come on, just say it. Just tell me what his name is, because I know what it's going to be. In this one, though, it starts kind of with a fan, not even a convention. They're cutting the ribbon of a furniture store or a sofa store or something. And
Yeah.
Jim Starling, former star of Darkwing Duck, who is clearly aged, and this was an older show.
Yeah, he's old, washed up.
Yeah, washed up actor. He's doing this, and he's just all right, I'm giving autographs to anybody who wants them, and there's nobody's really cheering him on or anything. He gets a few people, diehard fans, Launchpad being one of them, and then this other guy, this unknown guy who we later find out is an actor. He is also one of his biggest fans, one of Darkwing's biggest fans.
I love that autograph, though. I love when he's really geeking out over Jim Starling, and then he just signs something and goes, "That'll be $15. Stay dangerous."
Yeah. Yeah.
That cracked me up.
No, and then they find out that even Jim finds out that they're making a Darkwing movie. He's surprised to hear it, and he's like, "Oh, well, I got to be a part of this." So They go to the studio, which ends up being Scrooge's studio. It's even got like a picture of him as the logo.
I was like, of course he owns a movie studio.
Right.
God.
And so they go in there, and essentially the pitch is like The Dark Knight.
I loved this so much. Oh my God. This they show the movie trailer for this Darkwing Duck movie called Darkwing First Darkness. And I was laughing so hard because they did such a tongue-in-cheek bash of the Christopher Nolan Batman movies and a bash at Christopher Nolan for doing this. And I love that this line that Launchpad says, where he's like, a big budget remake of a thing I loved as a kid. Those always are great.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, because I mean, yeah, there is so much criticism towards those things, but I mean, part of that is kind of justified because you can tell when it's a cash grab. Transformers.
Oh my God. Yes.
Oh man, God, I got something in my throat. So I loved this, and I loved that they were playing music that sounded like Batman the Animated Series, but doing this, this dark voiceover stuff with it, and doing things that looked like you would see it out of a mix of the Nolan Batman films and the animated series and stuff. It was just I can't even keep going with it. It just, I loved it. They even did the pearl necklace from Batman and, and broke it. Yes. And they said, was it like, how do how do you come over such darkness with more darkness? Launchpad's like, what?
You just see like the burning initials of DW in the ground, just like the burning bat signal.
Yeah.
It's just great. So after they see this, they're just like, wow, this is garbage. Like, what is this? And so Dewey makes it his mission to try to pitch a new movie. And Scrooge puts him in charge because he's like, well, we want to appeal to younger audiences, so who better to do it than a young audience member? And so Dewey's like doing all that, and then Launchpad and Jim Starling are trying to take over and kind of make this movie, kind of save this movie from itself. And they run across like Jim Starling dresses up in his old Darkwing costume and stuff, and then he and Launchpad are just trying to infiltrate the studio. They find the actor who is playing the new Darkwing, and it ends up being the guy who got the autograph at the beginning.
It was a great reveal that they did there. I thought that was
absolutely
great.
And he also ends up, like we saw in the beginning, being a huge fan. So he's like trying to tell them, like, I'm trying to save the movie too. Like, I don't want them to make this like dark, crappy movie. I want to make it as pure to the character as I can. I want to help save it. So can't we all just work together? Jim Starling starts becoming sort of maniacal in a way and locks the actor into some kind of storage closet and tries to come and take over the set and act as the new Darkwing, or act in the movie but do his own thing, like take over. And at a certain point, he's supposed to like take a knee for Megavolt, he's very much in the style of the new Bane.
He looks like Bane.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got the fur coat. And
right. he's
loved it.
He's trying to take over. Like, he's supposed to like take a knee to him, but then instead he like does his thing where he's like, I'll never take a knee to you, and then like fights back and whatever, and kind of starts ruining what they have going on. Dewey, while he's helping to create the movie, or making the movie his own, is adding like dance numbers to it and like a musical portion.
I loved that. He had all these dancers come in. He had a Darkwing Duck person, but with a giant head, like a big mascot head of Darkwing Duck, which was great. Who was just kind of walking around in the background. The thing that surprised me, because I'm gonna say right now, this episode, I mean, I said the last one surprised me a lot. This one surprised me a lot more in that this was, I could not predict what was happening here whatsoever. So, because I'm thinking of this, this is the chance where Darkwing Duck, who is now kind of old, washed up, he's going to, I mean, in my mind, redeem himself. He's going to show that old heroics and stuff like that, aren't dead, that, he is, he's going to redeem himself. He's going to redeem the name and be a, not so much a hero, but I mean like an inspiration. But instead, like, he goes violent at one point. He beats the crap out of that newer actor playing him. And like his eyes start going all crazy. And I'm like, what is this about? Like, I didn't
Yeah.
see this coming. And then, like, I was in that studio fight. He gets that big electricity gun. He's shooting everything. And then, I mean, the new actor comes in the uniform. Launchpad's cheering him out, like, yeah, we've got to stop him. Like, there's something wrong with him. You know, he's not the Darkwing I remember.
Yeah. He's even saying like, I'll film this finale if it kills me, and everyone else on set when he has that gun.
Yeah, and the thing that really threw me for a loop was the very end of the fight where the Jim Sterling Darkwing is standing over this new actor on the ground, and he is revving up a chainsaw above him. I was like, wait, whoa, this is getting uncomfortably dark, right? Like, he's going to murder this man. Like, what? Are they really going to do Darkwing this way? Like, I was just kind of dumbfounded with that. But then, like, I like this as Launchpad went on this big, like, he was kind of the voice of reason here, which is scary. But because he's such a big fan of Darkwing and what it meant to him, but he had shared this moment with this other actor backstage, and that other actor is exactly the embodiment of everything that Darkwing was supposed to be. Like, it was inspiration. And he talked about how when he was a little kid, talking about this actor, not Launchpad, he got made fun of for being a big fan. And he said, you know, he got beat up a lot. But the one thing that Darkwing did that he took to heart was, like, he never stopped getting back up, no matter how much of a beating he took. And that was kind of a theme that played through the last end of this episode. And they're kind of really taking that to heart here. And the Jim Sterling character actually kind of has a little bit of a change of heart because of what Launchpad said. Was it that machine was going to explode and he dives and knocks them out of the way?
Well, yeah, the machine was going to explode and take Launchpad with it. And then the actor guy runs in to try to save him. And then Jim Starling, wanting to be the person who gets the credit, comes in and pushes them both out of the way instead and blows up with the machine.
Yeah, and then I was just like, whoa, did they just kill this character?
Yeah.
Because I was expecting the explosion, everyone to be shocked, and then you see him come out of some rubble. But instead, it just cut to a different scene. I'm like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. But what they did was even better, and I was so happy to see this. And so, well, first they reveal that this is, you know, Drake Mallard is the actor that was playing him, and Launchpad's just like, I've never heard of you before. But we as Darkwing fans know who that is, and like, oh, it's perfect. It was a name I was waiting to hear the whole time, and I knew it was going to be him, but it was still very satisfactory to hear it said. And then the very, very end, we get to see what happened to Jim Starling. And we see, it's such a cool reveal too, because we're seeing these colors like running into the water and like off
like
of
in a
his
sewer
costume.
Underneath the
studio.
Yeah,
in the sewer under the studio, like the colors are kind of draining from his suit. The purples and the blacks are turning into like this yellow, black, and red. And anybody who's seen Darkwing knows that's Negaduck. And that reveal was just so exciting that Jim Starling has just gone crazy. And he's like, basically, if they want grim and gritty, just like the movie, then he's happy to play the part. And then ends on a maniacal laugh. And I was so happy to see that. Like, I was so surprised by it. I did not expect that, but I was so satisfied.
That was super cool. That was two really cool reveals right in a row. But yeah, that was like, I love this new reimagining of that kind of story of Negaduck was actually the original Darkwing Duck and has just kind of lost it and become this abomination of what he originally stood for, while this young hopeful who looked up to the ideals that Darkwing Duck had is now fulfilling the shoes and the role of the actual hero he is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And is there plans? Are they going to do a Darkwing reboot?
I think I heard that they were doing a Darkwing spinoff of this show.
Okay.
I hope that's true.
I was just wondering, because Launchpad says something to him after the fact of like, you know, you don't have to play a hero to be a hero, which made me think that he's like, okay, he's not going to be an actor. He's going to actually embody Darkwing as a superhero out in the world, or out in this world. That, at least that's what I was led to believe from that line.
I think that's definitely the idea. And what's great about it is it plays on the dynamic of Batman in a way, because it's like
Yes.
when we consider things like the Joker, it's like the argument is Joker and villains like him would not exist if not for Batman. And the way that they kind of play into that, if Batman didn't exist, then Joker wouldn't exist, et cetera, et cetera. And so the way they play into it is like the moment that we see this hero being born, this new Darkwing, who in a world without like superheroes and supervillains, like we discussed earlier, is kind of starting that trend. We also see the birth of this first villain in Negaduck. So I thought that was a really awesome parallel.
I thought that was super cool. It was just such a surprising episode in all aspects. We also got one more real funny thing where like the director, who is supposed to be a spoof of Chris Nolan, is just like, we got all of that whole thing on camera, and he's like trying to look at it, and he goes back to play it, and you start seeing some of that fight, but then it's just a green screen with Dewey dancing.
Oh yeah,
over the rest of the entire fight, and he's like, it's ruined.
My masterpiece. Yeah. Well, Chris, it looks like it's about time we send our inner kids to Duckburg to go on grand adventures with Uncle Scrooge, or just wreak havoc with Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Then, if they survive either, see what they thought of Ducktales 2017.
This show was crazy fun, even though it was full of ducks which poop all over the place and chase me after I throw rocks at them. But Huey, Dewey, and Louie were really cool, and I'd want to hang out with them and Webby so we can go on adventures with Uncle Scrooge before robbing him of all his money. So I gave this cartoon 5 bowls of secret Negaduck cereal out of 5.
Reboots of beloved franchises are always a big gamble, but I'm happy to say in this case, it paid off. The characters are all given much more diverse personalities, episodes are exciting and intertwined with overarching mysteries, and the comic book-esque art style is perfection, paying great respect to the original comic artist Carl Barks. This show not only honors and makes welcome updates to its predecessor, but also ties in other classic Disney cartoons for a shared universe that's got me very excited. Overall, I'd give DuckTales 2017 5 big bowls of Smarter Than the Smarties cereal out of 5. Even if you're the Scroogiest of Scrooges who hates reboots and fears change, I still think you want to dive in and swim through the riches that this show has to offer.
You know, I would love to swim through money like that.
Can you imagine how much that would hurt?
You know what? I'm ready for it. I will prepare myself. I will train whatever it takes. If someone was just like, here's a big pit of money, you can have it, but you got to swim in it. I will already be wearing a swim cap before they finish that sentence.
Well, the trick is you'll have to dive from like 10 feet up into it. That's what's going to kill you.
Worth it. Because guess what? I could pay for them to bring me back to life with all that money.
There you go. I didn't think about that.
I know they say money doesn't buy everything, but it buys most things. So there you go.
But it buys resurrection. It buys Phoenix Downs.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I keep saying I was very surprised with this cartoon, but I mean, like that is the best way for me to sum up how I felt. Like I was just super surprised, especially in how much I enjoyed it. We didn't get too much on some of these things, but like the art, the colors were fantastic. I loved how this show looked, the characters, the story, the amazing voice cast. It was all great, but then they go that extra mile and didn't just entertain. They also tug at those heartstrings in such a big way. And I feel like it wasn't afraid to challenge the nostalgia of the original and make its own mark. So I've got a ton of respect for the creators of this rebooted show, because they made this thing that I originally didn't really care about into something that I need to binge watch. Like I am so invested in this show that like I cannot wait to watch more.
Yeah. Even though I was a fan of the original show and it does have its place in time, this one I think made such great upgrades to it. And reboots are a scary thing to do and hard to pull off, but I think this is the best reboot that I've seen of one of the original cartoons. And the fact that they're tying in some older cartoons too, which could potentially lead to future reboots of those as well, just like with Darkwing Duck, like we were discussing, I talked about them going to be bringing in more Tailspin stuff. Even Gummy Bears is a thing in this show, which was a show we watched previously and loved.
Yeah.
So that's
crazy.
So cool to me that they are resurrecting all of these properties simultaneously in a way through DuckTales, which is kind of the core of all of it. And I'm so happy about that. I just think that there's a lesson to be learned here about anyone who tries to reboot any cartoons in the future, like follow this one's lead. I think they've done a great job on this.
As scary as reboots can be, because you never want to, like, a reboot won't change the original content, but it can change or maybe affect your feelings towards the original if they like do something in the future with a character that you loved or something like that and really turn it on its head. You know, like it, as much as it sounds stupid sometimes, and I don't stand by the like, oh, you're ruining my childhood thing, but I think it really can kind of affect you to a point, just mentally. But some of the reboots that we've been getting on cartoons in the last several years have been excellent, and I think of this. I think of Voltron.
Oh, She-Ra.
And She-Ra.
Yeah.
Are both big ones. And the thing about those is they did some amazing things, but like all three of them, I feel like really, I don't know how to say it. Like, I think they all did an excellent job, but all three of them are so different that I feel like they're pioneering in these different directions. And I honestly think that as much as I love Voltron, I think they did an excellent job there. I think She-Ra, I love She-Ra not for the way that they rebooted it, but for the kind of inclusivity that they've got going on with that show, I think is very, very palpable. But this show, as an overall reboot of another property, I think is the most well-rounded that we've gotten. And I say that not having seen the original, but being, I mean, you and I are just about experts in reviewing animation and stuff like that, based on the amount of hours that we have spent doing the show and prepping for the show. I mean, it's been a lot. So we've seen a lot of things, and this one definitely stands out to me as probably one of the most refined and well thought out series I've ever seen.
I think this one stands a really good chance of rating very high on our 2020 Spoonie Awards, even though it's early in the year.
It's a contender, so you guys are going to have to come up with some good ones for us to review to try to beat it.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you didn't watch the original one, actually, because that gives us two different perspectives on this. And as me, who has a lot of nostalgia towards some of these characters because I remember them and I can appreciate the updates that are made, you're coming from a completely different perspective on that, and you still like it, which goes to show the strength of this show.
Yeah, and I'm sure we're going to get to the original soon because I know that in the rankings, they were pretty close to each other. So I would expect us to hit that original one in the next several weeks or months or something.
Oh, interesting.
Like, it'll happen.
So you're going to be going in reverse with this. Okay.
We're going in reverse. But before we head out, we've got 2 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts that have some comments I want to bring up. So the first one is from Tom of Chaos. 5 stars. He says, awesome show. You should do Gundam 8th MS team. All right. Sure, we'll add it.
How many Gundams are there?
There's an unlimited amount of Gundams, Joseph. Unlimited. Our second 5-star review, this is from Arctic Monkey 6, says, what a show! I've been a fan of cartoons since I can remember, and I miss the days when I'd wake up and run downstairs for hours of cartoon goodness. I listen to you guys while I work, and shoveling snow has never been more fun. I've been a huge supporter of shows that start off silly and goofy, but grow to have more story and character depth. My favorites are Adventure Time, Steven Universe, and Regular Show. Keep up the incredible work, and I'll catch you all on Party in Peril as well.
Oh, cool.
That's awesome, and thank you for helping us plug our other show again, like last time.
Yes.
It just keeps coming up.
And thank you so much, Mike and Lexa, for suggesting this. It was one I had started, but hadn't really delved much into, so I'm glad this gave me an opportunity to dive further into it.
Yeah, I am so just taken aback by how much I loved this show, especially when I did not expect anything cool to come out of it for me, just because I wasn't a fan of the original. I didn't watch it and didn't really have a desire to. So to go from that to where I'm sitting right now is just like, you guys really, really did me a solid. So thank you so much for suggesting this one. And thank you everyone that voted this up in the poll. So if you go to nerdsloth.com, you can go to the Cartoon Boom ranker poll, and then each of your suggestions, when we get them, we add it to the poll. And I know that I need to update it because I've got about 10 more to add right now from the last couple weeks. But usually every few weeks, we'll update it with everyone's suggestions, and you guys get to vote it up or down, which kind of helps control what we decide to do our episodes on. So sometimes we'll pick the very top, sometimes we'll pick the very bottom. Sometimes we'll get a little squirrely. We'll just pick a random number in the middle, but more often than not, top or bottom. So you guys are really in control of that. Also, real quick, I wanted to give a shout out to the Cartoon Central subreddit, which one of the moderators is one of our listeners that's been very active with the show. So Christopher 1295, we've done a lot of requests that he's sent, which has been super awesome. And he's picked some really good ones, like King of the Hill was a big one. We loved doing that one. So to return the favor, just wanted to tell everybody, if you guys like this show, go and check out the Cartoon Central subreddit and kind of hang out with those guys and see what they're all about. I mean, it seems pretty obvious they're celebrating cartoons just like we do. We love cartoons. So go do that. Go do that thing.
Well, listeners, it looks like our milk spa is now run dry, so it's time for us to say goodbye. And in 2 weeks, we'll be watching
Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts. This is a brand new one on Netflix that we're like super excited about. And I know I just said you guys control the ranker thing, but we have to do this one because it's awesome. We've been talking about this one off air quite a bit, and it just you'll see next episode. There's very, very specific things that I was in love with this show before I even watched it. So we'll get there.
And once again, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Nega Joseph. I mean, I'm Chris.
I knew it. We'll see you in 2 Saturdays. Woo!
Presented by Nerdsloth.
A place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.